Part of this video is sponsored by Best Buy.
Apex Legends Season 14 is a messy one, and in a good way. It's got a lot of new characters coming from the high level of play and competitive season that will be introduced into this next ALGS split in a bit of an awkward moment where no established meta has really taken a firm hold. We've had Newcastles and Watsons, we've had Gibraltar almost disappear, we've had Vantage come in, which people clearly want me to tell them where she is ranked, and I will. But I'm going to do that at the end because the newest legend often takes not just the most time, but the most information around where the ecosystem of other Apex Legends characters have fallen and have risen in order to understand how that legend will make an impact. I want to hear your thoughts and comments in the comment section below as I, a professional caster for the ALGS, now since its inception, as well as a content creator from day one of Apex, is going to rank these legends as not only their competitive viability in pro play, but also how they might shift, adjust, or be used by you in ranked or even pub matches so you get a big picture on the history, the impact, and where these legends are going. It's going to be a very juicy video, and of course, Vantage coming up later on. I know you all want to find that out, but first, a quick word from our sponsor.
The holidays are here, and you know what that means as a gamer? The best releases are about to drop, so you need a next-gen console that's going to give you next-gen speed and performance, and all at an affordable price, which is why I'm so excited Best Buy sponsored this video and sent me over an Xbox Series S to show you guys with Game Pass Ultimate. With a list of constantly rotating titles coming to Game Pass Ultimate each month, it's just easy to be a fan of gaming and to take advantage of it every day during the holidays. For me, this holiday season is about getting back to my roots and discovering what made me fall in love with gaming again. And that's why the Xbox Series S combined with Game Pass Ultimate membership is going to be my go-to combo for all of my holiday gaming needs. If you need to check out more, make sure to hit the link in the description below and shop at Best Buy because they've got everything a gamer needs heading into the fall.
All right, so thanks again to Best Buy for sponsoring this video. I want to start off with Bangalore. Now, Bangalore is a character who, in an S-tier position, could be considered a little bit overrated. But I'm going to drop her into A because I think this is exactly where this legend will occupy until there is a significant buff or a nerf. S-tier is a character that you have to play all the time and really requires almost the meta to pay attention to them. Bangalore is just below that as a character who is extremely effective in wide open spaces with the introduction of Stormpoint as a competitive map. Although we're playing Kings Canyon now in ranked, Stormpoint has really allowed Bangalore to flourish as you can create your own cover with her smokes at your feet and also cover enemies as well from a distance with people playing more aggressively with those smoke canisters. Her double time passive is always valuable, and any character who has extra movement when other characters don't is going to allow you to get more value out of her. If you pick Bangalore in your ranked games, you're going to have a decent hitbox. You're going to have good utility and movement you can use for yourself to get out of dodge, to help you find 1v1s and have success, especially if you have a digital threat, but also help your team. And I think that's where her ultimate has started to play much more of a bigger role. When you think of the fact that Gibby is now also out of the meta in as much as he has been over the course of this inception of Apex Legends high level of since like season 4, I would say that Bangalore has now got maybe one of the more impactful ultimates in her Creeping Barrage or Rolling Thunder or whatever we call it, to be able to delay, take space, and really put her team in a good offensive position. So that's why she's ranked at A. I think this goes for competitive and it goes for ranked. All right, Bloodhound. Let's talk Bloodhound. Bloodhound is S. That's right. I'm putting Bloodhound at S because I think people have underrated the value traditional scans bring to Apex Legends. And information is key. You know that the information legend that starts with an S has already jumped up very, very high into the ranks, but Bloodhound serves a different purpose. If you play on consoles, Bloodhound has actually risen quite a lot recently, and I've seen that in casting multiple tournaments that are console only. Specifically because when you get a scan onto someone and you're able to get that easy value, it's almost like talking about a stock that you're investing in that's just guaranteed money over every year that you have money in it. It's a simple but effective game that when you're taking risks other places trying to find the right stock or the right play, you're probably going to make some mistakes. it's very hard to make mistakes on Bloodhound. And still, incredible team utility, has the recon ability to scan, so you can augment your lineup with something like a Valkyrie, a Horizon. You can go Bloodhound, you can get information, you can get movement, you can get scans, double scans, you can get macro rotations. Bloodhound is actually fitting really nicely into a lot of the compositions lately, and I think whether you're specifically on console, raises above an A into an S character. I think in pro play, goes from an S into an A character, but I think when you combine that with ranked, with console, S tier for Bloodhound for most of you who are watching. I want to know your thoughts in the comment section below. It's been a minute since Bloodhound has really been included, but I do think that is kind of where Bloodhound sits. Caustic. I'm going to throw actually Caustic into a B. I think the problem with Caustic right now, and the reason I'm favoring more aggressive and information-oriented legends, is that I think that there's really not a way to do the same defensive strategies that were excelling in Season 8, well, really Season 7, 8, 9, 10, and all the way up until Season 14, where Caustic kind of jumped out into the meta and really excelled. The idea with Caustic used to be this. You get Caustic to late game, you barrel up, you have your gas canister, and no one can push you. You essentially win the game. Not anymore. The aggression has taken itself to such a high level that you don't have time to do that. Games are moving too fast. People are pushing too quickly. His Watson, a great example of how him and Furia kind of changed the tone and pace of Apex Legends competitive, and it really took out places for simply Caustic. Now, it doesn't mean that in a very specific scenario, Caustic can't win. But when you talk about ranked games, when you talk about pub matches, I think that Caustic has dropped significantly based on Kings Canyon, based on the way people are playing, more aggressive legends, more information-oriented legends, and the ability to break down defenses faster with just hyper-aggression. Now, I want to hear what you have to think about that, but here's another thing. Caustic will jump. If you're like talking about pro play, you may still on Championship Sunday see Caustic, Gibraltar, and Valkyrie played. Why? Because it's like going back to your bread and butter. We say this in fighting games, your bread and butter combo, the one you know you're not going to drop, you know you're going to hit, you only have a certain amount of damage you need to do to an enemy, and so you just hit that basic combo, the first combo you ever learned in a fighting game, and you just hit that onto the character. You don't get fancy because you don't need to get fancy. In championship moments where players play a little more tense, defense does tend to win out the final game, but it doesn't tend to actually be the most effective over the course of 6 games, which is why I think Caustic has dropped quite a bit. And it's interesting that this next legend who has defensive tendencies is going to rise quite a bit as well. I think Crypto is actually an S tier legend. This is crazy, but I'll tell you why. I have experienced watching fights with Crypto in this high-level scene where the EMP, his ultimate, is an unwinnable situation for literally anyone that he's fighting against. In wide open spaces, I don't care what you have, whether it's a Watson gen, whether it's a Newcastle wall, whether it's shielding, whatever it is, whether you got Daenerys Targaryen with a bunch of dragons ready to fire right back. If you EMP and destroy all of that, and you push with the aggressiveness of a Horizon ultimate black hole, and maybe a Seer Q focus of attention to stop any healing or any adjustments that might be being made after that EMP to try to get yourself back up to full, it's over. It is literally over. Horizon Seer Crypto is a nasty combo that I think actually more people need to play. I've seen it utilized really well in some of the console leagues I've been casting professionally, but I think when you come to high-level ranked play, people are a little more scared to introduce a character that feels slow and defensive and utilize that character offensively. And I think that's why Crypto ultimately will drop down to A for the majority of the player base. A very good legend, but it will take certain people to play. However, in my experience, in my heart, I believe Crypto is an S. I think fully maximized, this character could actually start taking over this meta, especially with Gibraltar out of the way. I really think Crypto is something people are sleeping on here. But, I want to know what you guys think. Fusey boy. Fuse is going to be a B. I'm sorry to say Fuse has really a difficult problem. This is the design problem, and I'm going to talk a little bit about design. Not only do you see Fuse in terms of like a pick rate being kind of middle of the pack, what you end up seeing with Fuse is that his abilities are really good when they're really good and really irrelevant when they're not. And I think that's the problem. When you talk about partner. Let's like utilize this idea when you are trying to find a partner for a team or a partner for a relationship, whatever it is, and they're really good, like 30% of the time, but then the other 60% of the time you don't even know where they are. They disappear. You can't even see them. You're gonna be like, okay, overall, I'm not actually getting as much value as I want. Yeah, we're having some good times, but this isn't very stable for me, and that's the problem. These characters that are in Bs and Cs and Ds need work. Bs are good, but not stable. Caustic can work, but in the right situation. Fuse can work, but in the right situation. I've seen Zeratricky pull this off on Furia, formerly Furia. I think that there's possibility. I think Crypto, it could be in B because it takes the right character, but I just think its potential. When you hit an EMP, it's like a fight over. When you hit a Mother Load for Fuse, the ultimate for Fuse, is that fight over? No. Everyone knows that. The Mother Load, the ultimate, is something that Fuse really needs help with. I don't know how he's going to get that help. I think the Knuckle Cluster is still a great spot. They doubled the duration of it a while back ago. I just don't think Fuse is going to be able to get above B. Also, by the way, Caustic is in B too because he lost a little bit of the effectiveness when you can destroy the barrels. You didn't have to shoot them when they were coming up. You could actually just shoot out the barrels with enough damage. I think that actually hurt Caustic quite a bit too. Gibby's going to drop down to a B. Now, this is one of the bigger drops we've seen. Went from S to B. The reason is there are characters here in this list that are going to be able to really cancel the Gibraltar bubble completely. If you have a Maggie that is running in a lobby, her ultimate now kills Gibraltar bubbles. That's inappropriate. That is just unbelievable. That's timeout. Okay, you cannot maximize a character if his basic kit that you are planning on that is so reliable is suddenly completely counterable. Riot Drill also does that. Seer Q was the beginning of Gibraltar's downfall. Why? Because focus of attention, the big blah that Seer does, it takes away the one thing that you need when you throw down a Gibraltar bubble, which is you want that bubble to come down and then you want to heal up right when action happens. That's why Gibraltar was so successful. You could take a route that's congested, that's tough, that people are fighting at you. You throw that bubble down, you get a second to reset, to heal up. And if people want to push you, they do, but they go into your domain that you can have an advantage in to get the first shot. Now, that second you have to reset, you try to throw that shield battery on, Seer throws that in, he cancels your heal, he silences you and all your abilities for the next second and a half, and he gets vision on all of you, and he knows if you try to retreat out of that bubble, he's able to get the first shot, especially all his other teammates. Gibraltar is just, I'm not sure if Gibraltar will be back for a while. I'm not sure. We're in an aggressive meta now. I think this is the significant big change that has happened that has tilted the meta from defensive to offensive. But there is one hope. I'm going to get into that in just a bit. A few of these legends have a hope if put together. We'll see. Horizon. Now, I was actually worried with Horizon's nerfs that she would drop down to A. Horizon got nerfed earlier on with her black hole. She was just becoming an S tier legend, and I was really scared about this black hole nerf, which basically means that you can now shoot it and do damage to it. Also, your grenades that you follow up with on the black hole, like you throw the black hole and then you throw grenades. That's the whole point of the ultimate. Now, your grenades kill the black hole. It's like, what? What are you talking about? That's the whole reason I was trying to. That's why I did it. Well, guess what? It actually is not that big a deal. It has hurt her as a character, but in many ways it has maybe balanced her in an appropriate way that would have been pretty nasty if everyone just figured out Horizon that way. Horizon's always been amazing, always been one of the best legends in the game. Her spacewalk passive is so underrated. The fact that you don't take that little knock when you fall into the ground and you just keep your momentum as you do it, it's so helpful from going to high ground to low ground to high ground. Getting away, chasing enemies. Also, I think her gravity lift, one of the most underrated and most useful abilities in the game. Not only gets her to ultimate height, it gets 2 other teammates to ultimate height. It's a great in-game final circle winning ability. It is a great defensive ability. It is an amazing offensive and movement ability. It's just so good. It's always been so good. And the black hole, now everyone knows. Black hole, ultimates, run into it. Seer Qs, Seer heartbeat sensor, all of that. That is just, Horizon is in a great spot here, and she is going to be an S tier legend still. The way that you get around using your ordinances, by the way, is you throw it on the other side of a wall. So let's say that opponents are this phone, or let's use something a little bit more, generic, this piece of paper. If your opponents are here, instead of throwing it right here in front of them, what you want to do is throw it right here on the other side, because it's still going to pull these opponents into the wall. And that's where you're going to be able to throw your ordinances on this side, get all your damage here, and your ultimate, it's still working for you right here. That's where you have to do it. Usually, you can just throw the ultimate here, throw all the grenades, all the action happens here. Now you can't because that will destroy your ultimate. But since it pulls through walls, and doors and rocks and any surface, you're still going to be able to get the same value. So that's how you want to use it. You kind of just got to protect your ult and separate it from the people that you're trying to pull. A little harder, but still effective. Lifeline. Lifeline is a C level character. Lifeline is in a pretty decent position when it comes to ranked, although not really advised. One of the benefits is the small hitbox. It actually is a huge difference in Apex. This was one of the biggest dramas in Apex Legends for a long time. Having a small hitbox meant that you were actually able to win more fights. I mean, that's essentially what it is. Gibraltar and Caustic have passives that allow them to have 15% less damage per bullet. And if you're new to Apex, you don't know that. But they don't get slowed by bullets either. This is because their hitboxes are so big. If they didn't have that defensive mechanic, they would just lose every gunfight. And that was a problem in early Apex Legends. She has the opposite problem. She's very hard to hit because she has such a small hitbox, so people look to add 5% damage added to characters like that and like Watson's and like Wraith. So it's one of those things that Apex uses to balance it out. So that is a benefit. Very good in 1v1s. You got Sustain. Her ultimate care package that drops down and gives you abilities now guarantees, I think, gold, and it also guarantees upgrades throughout the match. It is very effective. It is really good for a team, but it's also her crux because most other characters here that we're talking about have some type of ultimate that impacts a fight. And in a fighting game, in a battle royale, she just as one of three characters, not one of three, not one of five, one of three doesn't contribute to a fight with her ultimate, and that will keep her underneath other legends because she's working with one less ability. That's just the way it is. And until that changes, which I don't think it will, Lifeline is not going to be valuable in high-level competitive, and she's only going to be so valuable at certain levels of ranked. Not in Predator ranked, maybe in lower Diamond ranked, and below that she'll be fine. Console, same exact thing. So unfortunate with Lifeline. Somebody asked me, how do we buffer? I don't know if you can buffer. I think you just need a new healing legend. We can talk about that in the channel too. Some ideas on new legends. Let me know in the comment section below. Now, Loba, I think, is actually a B-tier legend. I think she could jump to A. I think she's been an A in previous areas. In fact, everything that people look to say about Loba has started to be improved, and they've focused on. Loba has had issues with her burglar's best friend, reliability, and I think that is where you have the biggest problem. Characters who pros and high-level players could use to showcase to everyone else who's watching how good they can be will not use characters who are unreliable. This is the biggest tenet for design and for gamers and for pros and for viewers to understand. There are 2 to 3 characters in this list that actually could be A or S tier characters as a major part of Apex. Loba is one of them. She could be one of the best characters in in-game zones, and that is because of her black market boutique. The ability to have access to every single death box in a final circle to re-up your grenades, which most people run out of at an end game at some point. Re-up your ammo and unlimited ammo for all your teams, which most people run out of. Swap guns, grab care package weapons and red weapons to be able to grab healing, shield batteries, to do it multiple times for all of your teammates. It is an advantage that literally wins the game. And whenever I see in Europe people play Loba, typically in one game of 6, there is a Loba team that wins in Europe. And that, to me, is enough that we need. But it's not widespread enough to where the rest of the world will adopt her as a key. So what we need to bring is trust back to this legend if we ever want Loba to jump up into the A and S tier range in terms of competitive and in terms of ranked. In terms of casual play, I think Loba's really fun. And I think console play, Loba's really fun as well. So what you want to try to do is find your balance of how well you trust the reliability of Burglar's best friend. And I think it's something that Apex really just needs to continue to hammer on the confidence of to get Loba back into the scene. It's going to take a minute, but I think one day you will see Loba as like a huge part of the Apex Legends meta. I think it'll happen. Maggie! Is Maggie better than Loba, or is she not? She is. I think Maggie is actually right now better than Loba. And she has a better chance of being utilized in high-level play. Why? There is hype on the Maggie change. One of the ways developers can get characters who have low legend pick rates, like Maggie, which she is the top bottom 6 characters, with a 2% pick rate, right, is to perceptually and or actively buff them. So what happens is in the patch notes, Maggie got some serious buffs that have changed a couple things. It cemented the demise of Gibraltar, meaning that her Wrecking Ball, her ultimate, will now travel twice as far, and it is very, very, very effective because it destroys Loba's ultimate, Newcastle's ultimate, it destroys Seer's ultimate, it destroys Revenant's ultimate, all when it contacts it. It destroys Gibby's Gibraltar Dome of Protection, it destroys Caustic Barrels, it destroys Rampart's cover, and it destroys Horizon's ultimate. That is nuts. That is nuts. I'm talking about all these characters on this list. She counters all of them. Plus, the Riot Drill is one of the best abilities in the game. The amount of damage, the amount of poke, the amount of pressure that it provides, and now it goes twice as far or twice as fast, however you want to describe it. The launch speed is doubled. That is sick. And so Maggie is actually in a really good position. Plus, she has a good passive for high-level play, which requires shotguns, the EVA getting buffed. It's a great combo. The reason Maggie has not yet been pushed up to S or considered herself in terms of finding a spot in these rosters is perceptually there's just work to do. When a character falls into the bottom half of visual perception of whether they're good or not, it takes a lot of work to get them back and a lot of buffs and a lot of reworks to get them back into being valued. But his Watson, I'm seeing people across high-level play are actually pioneering Maggie. They're saying Maggie's good, and if they can do it for Seer, they can do it for Maggie. So start playing Maggie, start learning Maggie. The thing that she needs to is she's in the Loba category. The Wrecking Ball ultimate is not always effective. It does not always go where you want it to go. It doesn't always hit what you expect it to hit. It is still erratic, therefore unreliable. And if you want this to be widespread adopted, that Wrecking Ball ultimate has to be a little bit more consistent for players when they throw it out. I know you've experienced that too back at home. Let me know in the comment section below if you guys have. By the way, leave a like if you're enjoying the video. I do appreciate it. If you watched this far, I really appreciate you. And clearly you want to see more content like this. So leave a like, let YouTube know that you're enjoying it. Mirage! Mirage is a D tier character for competitive. Mirage is F tier for competitive, which is why he balances out at D. Why is that, though? Why is that? Because in console play, casual play, Mirage is actually pretty good at A. You know, maybe A or B. I would say B. In ranked play, Mirage could actually be B. So you have two Bs, you have an F. Basically a B all the way in and a big F. So you're around D and C for Mirage. The reason that this is the case, though, let's talk about this. Why would Mirage, who is a middle-of-the-pack kind of pick character, on the bottom middle of the pack, not be getting buffed? Well, there's two reasons to buff a character. And this is something you should take to all your friends because they'll always talk about this. Why is Mirage not getting buffed? Why? All right, here's the reason. One, a character is actually statistically performing very well, but not a lot of people are playing that character. For instance, Mirage could have over a 50% win rate. It's very, very true. This character might actually be high performing for the people who play Mirage, but not a lot of people play Mirage, and therefore the designers are looking at their stats saying, well, this character is winning more than 50% of the time. We can't actually buff a character that is technically performing better than every other character. So even though he's not played and no one thinks he's doing well, we can't buff Mirage. You see the quandary that designers get in when they see the stats, but they don't tell us the stats, so we have to put our own conjectures in there. Another reason is to assist people in playing the character, even though they are maybe decent, but they don't have a high enough win rate, and they really do actually want to buff up the win rate of a legend so that they are played more. Her Mirage, in my opinion, is in a terrible position to get buffs ever because I think Mirage is not in a terrible place where you can ignore these characters or these characters below him and go pick rate. People aren't playing Mirage. I think enough people play Mirage, but he's also too good when those people play him on average that it's not worth buffing. That's my guess. That's why I believe Mirage is in a very difficult spot, and I don't think he'll ever shift it because unless you rework his kit or unless you considerably continue to buff the character, there's just no way that this character is going to ever make it into high level. And I think they also have issues buffing this character because I think he actually performs well. I think in a 1v1 and I think in casual matches, a decoy literally wins you a fight. I literally think if someone just shoots, you see a decoy, you shoot it on accident, you get revealed, a good, decent Mirage is just going to get the first shot on you. And if someone continually gets the first shot on you, I think you win that fight. This is my logic going into this because I've been in these design meetings, and I feel like I know, but I want you guys to give me your thoughts on why you think Mirage has not been high level, is not getting any buffs, or seemingly trying to be high level. And I don't think it's this idea that not every legend needs to be competitive. I think if Mirage could get played more and get more love, I think they would like it because he's literally one of the faces of the game, like Wraith. But I don't know. All right, we're moving into some big-time talks. Newcastle, the newest legend, besides Vantage, which is coming up, by the way, don't forget that, actually is in a great spot. Newcastle was already meta heading out of the ALGS championships, and one of the greatest quotes that I heard one of the pro players play, I'm not sure if it was NRG Sweet or it was somebody close to that, maybe G Dolphin, maybe Nasky, someone in that range. They said if we had 6 more weeks of training with this patch, you would have seen every team playing Newcastle, Watson, and Valkyrie. You would have seen every team playing it because 100 Thieves were the only team that pioneered this strategy, and they dominated in a way that no one else was doing. They were the only team that could put together defense, and Newcastle at that point really proved his flexibility and his utility. And I did a video on the problem with Newcastle, which you've watched, and you guys can see my quotes. I said Newcastle is not going to be a solo tank. He will not replace Gibby. What he is an amazing off tank. So you need to run Newcastle with a Gibby, or Newcastle with a Watson, or Newcastle with somebody else to supplement the defense of that castle wall and the mobility. So Newcastle can be a nuisance, and you could still have somebody to hold down your area defensively if you want to go that approach. That's what 100 Thieves did. It worked. I expect that if we see teams go hyper-aggressive, we're going to see some teams take a more conservative approach. I hope and I expect Newcastle will be a part of it. I think we may even see Watson come along with it. Newcastle, though, for sure, because I think just there's so many buffs that he got. The slow, he's faster with reviving 25%. His shields are stronger on the white and the blue knockdown shields. His mobile shield is almost not double strength, but I mean like 30% extra strength right here, an extra 150. It's double the max movement speed. The castle wall increases the severity of the slow effects movement. I mean, everything that Newcastle got was a big buff. And so what I think this meant was this legend, we want to deal with him quickly. He's low pick rate. He's probably low win rate. We need to buff him right away. And I think what ended up happening is now this is tough because what happens in a character like this is low win rate across casual players, high win rate across high-level pro players. So what just happened was Newcastle already at championships could get top 5 in the whole world. Now you've taken a hyper substrata of Newcastle players and given them more to work with. Whereas the normal population, they didn't have a lot. Now he's fun. He's going to jump up to that 44, back to 47, 48, 49, maybe closer to 50%. And he's going to get played more because he got the buff, so that's going to help pick rate, and that's going to help the health of the character. But just like Gibraltar, whereas low-level Gibraltars were nothing to be scared about, the best Gibraltars in the world were like the best players in the game. That's where Newcastle is right now. So S tier, let it be known. Octane's B. Octane's pretty good. In fact, I would maybe even put Octane at C. But I think B is a good compromise because in ranked, Octane can work really well. You can have a really fun time, and I think it's kind of leaning towards more of an aggressive style right now. I think Octane is turning into just a fun legend for pubs. I think he's clearly one of, if not the most popular legend in Apex Legends, he is. And that makes sense. So in terms of casual, in terms of ranked. In terms of competitive, though, is where he's going to drop. And it's really just more of like A and B category for Octane. He's not an S tier legend anymore. The nurse to his stem, taking more health away from him and also reducing some of the ability. Was it for how long it lasted? And it really was just taking more health from him. And so you have less time to really... You have less stems that you can use before you deplete your health. And then B, the ability for the jump pad not to have that ridiculous travel distance that it did. So it's no longer macro ability to move. And that's one thing I want to talk about with the next few legends that we get into here. Okay, so Ashe. Ashe is in a interesting position. Ashe is also in a B kind of experience. I could see Ashe being played, however, a little bit faster than some of these other legends, but Ashe has kind of fallen a little bit to the wayside. Her tether is a little unremarkable, and I think could maybe use a buff. Her ultimate is micro movement, and I think that's tough when you're talking about two aggressive legends or you're talking about two hyper defensive legends. I think that's what this meta is calling for. It's really separating, like in life right now, you're getting these like extremes, and I think that's where Ashe is. She's towards the aggressive extreme, but it's not quite as good as some of the other aggressive legends like Horizon, like Bloodhound, like Seer. And so I unfortunately think that her movement, too, could be the thing that helps her, but the phase breach isn't long enough. It's more of a movement in a fight versus a movement to really rotate. And that's the one thing that has kept the one legend we're going to talk about alongside Vantage really in the mix, and almost I don't know how they're ever not going to be in the mix. I really don't. Let's talk a little bit about Pathfinder. Pathfinder is like a solid C. Pathfinder just doesn't bring anything to the table. I mean, Pathfinder needs a passive, guys. I mean, the passive Pathfinder has is one of the 7 passives that every other recon legend has. I think it's time. Not only that, a massive hitbox, very difficult to use, but let me just say this. From a casual player perspective, ranked perspective, you could play Pathfinder, and you can have a great time. Pathfinder is one of my favorite legends. I'm a little sad about the grapple. I wouldn't be mad if they gave the grapple back, because I think there's too many legends now where people would abuse it again. But, you know, Pathfinder had his heyday. I mean, he was the big part of Apex Legends in the first 3 seasons, which were the longest to come out. And, you know, you got to respect it. Pathfinder mains, I love you, but still in the C position. Not much that's going to change from that unless he gets a serious buff. Rampart, man, you know, listen, this is C. The gaming merchant would put this. Ollie, I know you're going to put this at like A or S, okay? I'm sorry. I have to combine it all. Rampart is just not a legend that is going to work right now. And I want to be honest with you, because I want to be honest so that we can get Rampart to a position that maybe she can work. Rampart has had the hardest time being a legend that has really served the Apex Legends ecosystem. She is the second to last pick of every other legend in this game, meaning she is unpopular as heck. Also, she has never been viable in competitive play, and she has not taken any moment ever to change that, despite numerous buff after buff after buff after buff. You see why I talk about getting characters buffed and OP on release so that we can tune them down versus putting out a character that maybe isn't too strong because we don't want to go too strong, and then having to buff them 17 patches in a row and still finding them in the same position. It is a lesson that I've learned over many, many champion releases in my time experiencing and talking and evaluating releases at a game studio, and it's something that I'm seeing play out here with Rampart, man. Wow. The only way to make Rampart better is to change the way the character functions. It's a setup legend, but it's a worse setup than Caustic because the Caustic barrels are better than Rampart's defensive shields. Plus, her defensive shields are very bad when you are in the throes of being Horizon Black Hole, Seer queued, Newcastle ultimated, EMP'd, Bloodhound scanned, or whatever else is coming at you in this high-level Apex Legends meta. So everything that she's meant to do, she can't do. And everything that she can do well doesn't really matter when it comes to the way Apex Legends is played, because you can't set up in this game. You never know what's going to happen. Team might third-party you. Circle might move. It's just very, very difficult to take advantage of what she offers. Although, great character, great voice actor. I actually interviewed her as Rampart was coming out on my channel. So check it out. Anjali. She's really great. She does some other voices for Overwatch and some other games as well. Revenant. Revenant's actually coming into the fray, man. I'm going to put Revenant right here with B. I think Revenant could be A by the end of the season. I know it's a bit of a toggle. In fact, I'm going to put Revenant at A. For a couple of different things. We're getting into some ability focus here. And I think Revenant is one of those characters that, A, in an aggressive meta excels. So Death Totem is going to be valuable. Silences are huge counters to characters right now that require using their abilities to be effective. Newcastle, for instance, in his castle wall, getting those revives, throwing up that mobile shield. Horizon with the black holes, with the gravity lifts. Bloodhounds with the scans. You're talking about Mad Maggie, even though she can destroy the Death Totem, getting the Riot Drill out. You talk about Valkyrie and Watsons and Seers. I just think there's a lot of stuff to cancel right now that can be very effective with Revenant's Q. And Revenant himself, the only big reason I don't think Revenant has ever really made it out into high-level play is because Revenant has, but he requires somebody else to be kind of the aggressor. There's a weird combo that could be going with maybe a Revenant Death Totem, Horizon, Valkyrie. Maybe you could even throw in Ashe, Revenant, Valkyrie, have some kind of Revenant Death Totem phase breach vibe into getting killed and phase breach back and with a Valkyrie. I don't know. Maybe into the Horizon. There's some fun stuff that can happen, but I think Revenant is kind of ready to go, geared up. So that's a little bit of a spicy pick, but I believe in it. All right, Seer, the legend that has changed it all. Seer is an SQ, S-tier legend, guys. This is one of those legends that has changed the game. And Seer, for the foreseeable future, is going to be an S-tier pick, a part of a composition in Apex Legends that basically tells the story of how Apex is being played right now. And if you don't have Seer, if you don't have Horizon, you're kind of looking at running an off-tier, off-meta composition, which is crazy. We've talked about why focus of attention, his Q, is really good. The silence, the stuns, the resets, the canceling of Gibby, the information to the teammates. But the other thing that's really important is it takes away a huge part of competitive play and ranked play specifically, which is ratting. Seer's heartbeat sensor, which is on his right-hand click. If you're using a mouse, it's on your right click. If you're using a controller, I forget which, maybe right bumper, whatever it is, left bumper, left trigger. But what it really ends up being is you get to see if there is anyone who is hiding near you. And it takes away a total playstyle of Apex. I mean, you cannot rat. You cannot hide. You cannot try to sneak in. Seer will see you coming. And let alone that, fighting against an exhibit, which is his ultimate, which sees footsteps and movement that isn't slow crouching or flying, it's just a huge advantage. And so you kind of almost are now in the Gibby situation where defensive bombardment and is only defended by a Gibby dome. So Gibby needs a Gibby to cancel the Gibby. So a Seer Q is sometimes only stoppable by a Seer Q because then both of you are queued in silence, so no one wants to push. Or an exhibit is only canceled by another exhibit because you could see them, but then they can see you. And that's how Bloodhound was. You know, you get a Bloodhound scan, guess what happens? Guess what you do at high-level play? Bloodhound scans you. You have a Bloodhound, you wait a little bit, you scan them. So then now they're scanned, but you have the scan that lasts for half a second longer, and so they don't want to push. That's how it goes. And Seer has just kind of driven the meta. It's very exciting. It's very fun. I like it, but that's just the way we've been. All right, let's talk about the other legends. We've saved some of the best for last. Valkyrie. Yeah, with all these nerfs, she has dropped down to Psych. She is S still. Why is Valkyrie still S? Okay, Valkyrie provides some very important things. One, for Apex, one of the higher picked characters, incredibly fun to play. So is Seer. You're going to see a kind of a theme here too. There's only going to be a few legends that are capable in this range that get to high level, and it's because you're going to see their kits being very hard to use from a wide perspective, but from a small perspective can be super valuable. These legends are typically going to have obvious, overt, clear value that people enjoy playing and pick because it's obvious, and that's what Valkyrie brings. She brings the only level of macro rotation a character can bring to the game. Wraith used to be macro rotation, but not anymore because we've changed the landscape. That's like saying California is big, but then you compare California to the rest of the United States, and you go, well, California is small compared to the rest of the landmass that I'm considering the United States. That's what Wraith used to be. She was the top dog in town with her portal. Now Valkyrie can basically hit a balloon, can skyward dive from a dropship that isn't approaching. She makes her own dropship skyward dive, and she gets vision on that, and she gets recon beacons on that, so you don't have to run another recon legend. She has a semi-stun, slow damage poke ability that resets every 12, 15 seconds. She's got her own mobility to traverse from high ground, low ground, middle ground within the blink of an eye. Even with the nerfs that happened to her, it is not enough to have changed what Valkyrie can do in a game. The height reduction of the ult, I thought that might be a big deal. It's not. None of those things matter. Valkyrie is the only way that you can move from one place on the map to a significant other place on the map in high-level play without sacrificing anything. There's no sacrifice. There's no zipline sacrifice. There's no phase breach. Well, we can't take it back sacrifice. There's none of that. There's no Wraith portal. It doesn't go far enough. Plus, I have to set it up sacrifice. It's just I go up, I come down somewhere. I see everybody when I'm coming down. And typically, I've outmaneuvered, outmoved myself fast enough to be able to be safe. I don't think that will ever change. I literally think Valkyrie, unless I think they have to bring a new legend that also has macro movement to somehow have the heyday of Valkyrie go away. I just don't think it's possible. I think she will be S tier. This is the new Gibby. This is going to be Gibby until something happens drastically 6 legends down the line. That's my take. I don't think you can get much more of a drastic nerf than this. She had the biggest nerf possible. She's still meta. It's crazy. All right. Watson. Watson, I think, is actually an A-tier legend. I think Watson combines really nicely in the other play style. And she combines really well with Newcastle. I think you can run Horizon Newcastle Watson. I think you can run Seer Newcastle Watson. I think you can run Valkyrie Newcastle Watson. I think there's a lot of really nice things you can do. And Watson has everything going for the character in general. Highly picked, a decent win rate. Actually, lowly picked. But one of the reasons I think Watson does not actually get buffed very often, and people ask, is because look at her level compared to the other players, right? There are only a few legends here that are in platinum. What, 6, 7? Watson is one of them. Watson has an average rank of platinum 4 for the players who play. And what this really means to me is that this is a character who casual players don't know how to take advantage of her, but when she gets to high levels, is a hugely high winning character, like a very good win rate. She's got things that help increase win rate statistically, like a small hitbox. She literally, her kit is designed to do what you want to do in an in-game circle and win, which is have people not throw grenades on you, stay in one place, bunker down, make it difficult to attack you or discourage people from attacking you and choose other people to attack. And we've seen it actually play out in the ALGS Championships. One of the top 5 teams from APAC North, Fnatic, who ended up, I think, placing top 5 as well, ended up actually running Watson. Yuka was one of my favorite players in the game there. You should check him out on YouTube or some of the ALGS Championship footage. Watson is a high-tier character. Whether you believe it or not, whether you think buffs are needed or not, Watson wins a lot. Watson is good. Watson has been good. Watson will be good as long as Apex Legends continues to be a battle royale, and you'll see her kind of in that high level. I also believe, weirdly enough, that Wraith could be S or A. I know Wraith is typically S. It's the first time in a long time that Wraith has been dropped down to A, where she's good, totally interchangeable, totally usable. It's more of a feels thing. The only character, again, outside of maybe Ashe's small ultimate moment, which sacrifices a lot too and doesn't necessarily give you the ability to do it as fast as Wraith, but can just have invincibility frames. Invincibility frames means no damage. If you're not taking damage when everyone else is taking damage, statistically, you'll have more health on average, and having more health on average will statistically mean over the course of many games, you will win more encounters than other players. That's just the way it goes, and that is why Wraith has always been hard to kill and a high winning character, a high picked character. Very small hitbox, and also has some team utility with her Dimensional Rift. And this is just all great stuff. Her passive is also really underrated. Knowing when people are looking at you and staring down at you, whether they're ratting, you kind of do a little bit of the Seer thing where, you don't have Seer's vision and the actual guarantee, but you can know that someone's near you and watching you. So you get that information, and that is very, very crucial in a battle royale at all high levels of ranked. And in console, I'm actually seeing it jump up a little bit in some of the leagues that I've cast. Okay, here we go. Vantage. Is she F? Maybe she's D. Maybe she's D. No, I'm kidding. She's S, guys. Vantage is not S. Okay, I'm not trolling with y'all. I'm going to put Vantage where I really believe Vantage is. Okay, I think Vantage is actually in a B tier. All right. Now, this ain't bad. If you feel like Vantage is actually in an A tier, I'm happy. I'm happy to talk about it. But you look at Octane. You looked at Ashe, you look at Loba, you look at Gibraltar, you look at Fuse, you look at Caustic. Does Vantage actually bring more to a team composition than those legends? It's tough. You look at Wraith, Watson, Rev, Maggie, Crypto, Bangalore, you think that Vantage brings more than them? I don't know. And you definitely know that she doesn't bring more than these characters, so she's not S. And that's how you can do kind of the adjustment here. Vantage is an incredible legend, one of the more fun legend releases we've had. She's already made it into a top 5 of legend picks, which should say enough. But here's the reason why I feel that Vantage is currently in a B with potential to climb, which is great. A legend that is fun, but very hard to understand how to fit into a meta, is going to take time. And that's unfortunately the honest truth for it all. You will not know how good Vantage is until we see the best players in the world showcase what Vantage can do and what type of legend composition helps Vantage be a better version of herself. That is where things, people don't understand. Newcastle and Watson. Watson makes Newcastle's ultimate better. Newcastle's ultimate protects Watson's ultimate. These two characters help make each other's kits stronger, and you need that with a legend like Vantage, who right now to me feels too much like a solo character that can add a great damage, great value, great fun, and is a pub stomper. But in high-level play, would you give up the mobility of Valkyrie, or the vision of Seer and the disruption, the utility and movement of Horizon, or the information of Bloodhound? I don't think so. So here's how Vantage can get to the top. In the next couple of seasons, we're going to see experiments with that sniper rifle. And if that sniper rifle can have more bullets more consistently, if that sniper rifle can do more damage off the tag so that the other teammates can push into the aggressive meta with more value from their push, as in more of a damage boost for her and her teammates, you might start to see Vantage utilized. Vantage, Seer, Horizon, Vantage, Crypto, Seer, maybe Valkyrie, Horizon, Vantage, Valkyrie, Seer, Vantage, something where you can get some type of movement and you can go aggress onto a player, a team, and she hits one of those sniper shots, and now you're doing 20% more damage. You guys are frying 30% more damage. You're like, bang, 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 bang. It's like a death sentence if you push in. I think that is what it's going to take for Vantage to move up to A and move up to S. And, of course, no one knows how that's going to go. As always, never give up, never stop gaming. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below for this video. I appreciate you guys, and let me know what you think about it.
All right, thank you so much for watching the video, everyone, and thank you to Best Buy for sponsoring a portion of the video. Make sure to check the link in the description and shop at Best Buy to secure all of your gaming needs for the holidays.